2026 is upon us, and it's time to seize the opportunities on the horizon. In this video, I want to talk about the different areas where I see opportunities to really thrive, capitalize on, and create a lane in or focus on that will provide outsized returns in 2026. So, getting right into it, here is the list that I have for you. So, starting with AI powered systems. So you might be a person who's interested in building and selling systems. And this is one of the areas where you can have a real impact on businesses. Personally, I focus on service businesses when it comes to building and implementing systems. And up until this point, I've been running an automation agency. So I started this back in 2023, at the end of 2023, and 24 and 25, I've managed to find a pocket, but also really understand what the needs are with service businesses in particular, and the gap that can be filled with automated systems, whether that be workflows, whether that even be processes that are just clear and mapped out, sometimes even before you start to automate them. Now, we've kind of gone through this whole AI craze, and I'm going to kind of just give it to you raw, which is AI is only now becoming practical within businesses. If you look at reports from McKinsey, for example, they said that I believe it's over 70% of AI implementation has been deemed unsuccessful in businesses. And the reason I believe that's the case is because the tech hadn't been far enough along to actually make measurable progress for businesses. And so this concept of AI automation that has come about over the last several years, if you're someone who has been running an automation business and has leaned more into the automation side of things, then you have been able to make an impact either on your own business or businesses that you've worked with, because you're talking about an existing kind of avenue already. In the case of automation, platforms like Zapier, Make.com, and N8N, which is more AI powered, but still an automation platform. And then there are ways in which you may have been able to incorporate AI into what you do, which kind of increases the appeal. But at the end of the day, a lot of the progress that you've been able to make and a lot of what you've done that has had real value has been straight automation. But we are now at a point where, with the recent launches that we've experienced over the last couple of months, Opus 4.5, Codex 5.2, Gemini 3, at a point where AI automation in the truest sense, and even AI isolated, like you're focusing on AI alone, has now gotten to the point where it's really practical for businesses. And so what does that mean? That means that there's an opportunity to, if you are a service professional or provider for businesses as far as implementation goes, opportunity to really help create a measurable impact in more traditional kind of ways, but also specific to AI. That might look like voice agents, that might look like dashboards, that might look like creating subject matter agents that can do calculations and that can write and all sorts of things. And so this goes for those who are service providers applying AI to businesses, but also for businesses themselves. If you are a law firm, for example, or a property management company, or physician's office, or a design firm, implementing and identifying ways to make your company AI powered and ultimately AI native, where like AI is really driving what you do on a day-to-day basis, will pay huge dividends, because it is now becoming clear how and where to really implement what's going to help propel your business with all the disruption happening. So if 24 and 25 were the years of these concepts sort of coming about, and they have like the early adopter kind of phase, 2026 is the year of, I would say, execution around a lot of this, where agents are actually starting to do the work. So that's a real opportunity there. Now, building upon that point, we've got agentic workflows. So if you're someone who has done a lot with automation, AI implementation, then you are maybe familiar with, your make.coms, your N8Ns, your Zapiers, and then now even platforms like OpenAI, right, and Google are coming up with their agent builders. Now we're seeing a whole rebrand of automation, and just even the concept of AI automation, in that if you look at make.com, interestingly, 2 years ago, their front page did not say AI automation. You can visually build and orchestrate in real time. Their front page said automation, right? So we're seeing a lot of rebranding. And so it's been actually more of a marketing kind of concept, but it's now turning into something that's very practical. If you go into make.com and you see a lot of the work that you can do with AI agents now and AI systems now, they are very, very real and practical. And so whether you're using these kinds of tools and starting to leverage the capabilities, the new capabilities that they have, or the newer platforms that are still kind of being battle tested, your open AIs and your Geminis, but most importantly, platforms like your Claude Codes, Codex, leveraging AI native IDEs like Cursor, Google's anti-gravity, you can create all sorts of different workflows, agentic workflows. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people are going to kind of sell you a dream around what all this looks like. The reality is these systems have to be created, right? Like you can't you're not just going to spin up an agent in 3 minutes that is actually applicable to your business. Like you really have to carve out, like map out what this is going to look like within your business, and then go and build the workflows or the tools that will be helpful and that can automate, even if it's an agent automating that work. And then you can really start to see what it looks like at scale. But there's a process to get there. And this time period that we're going through is a crucial one because not that many people are really doing it in this kind of way. The where the tech is at in regard to Claude Code and the latest coding models, and the idea that even all of what we're talking about right now goes beyond coding to also just day-to-day work and productivity, project management, data, marketing, operations, leveraging these models. The coding models are just the tip of the iceberg for how work is going to change over time. And it's what a lot of these companies have latched onto, the coding models. And that's why there's been so much emphasis around this and vibe coding. Vibe coding, it was actually a term of the year, I believe. I want to say Time magazine, if not Time, then another platform. But learning MCP servers, learning how to use Cursor and or anti-gravity, learning to use Codex and Claude Code, and using the latest coding models, learning Manus, which Meta just purchased yesterday. This will put you way ahead of the game in the field when it comes to building out workflows and systems, whether it's for other businesses that you're charging for or for your own business that you're looking to grow. And so that's agentic workflows, and where I see is like the second area where you could really get some outsized returns, because when you see someone like Sam Altman talk about the idea of being able to build these massive companies with a small team, 1 to 2 people teams, or 5 people teams, or 10 people teams, and be able to operate like a big business, what that looks like is based on the maturity of these workflows. If you have all these things built out, then you can begin to operate in that kind of way. But it takes actually building them out first, and there's a process for that to happen, and that process takes time. And if you can develop the skill sets around that, then you're able to provide that value on a higher level, whether for yourself or others. Now, the next one that I have on the list is personal software. So we've ushered in the era of personal software. I've experienced this in my own life very frequently, especially over the second half of the year. And so over the last year and a half, even before the term vibe coding came about, have been vibe coding. We started with Claude Sonnet 3.5, where we would actually take prompts. We would prompt the LLM Claude. We would take the output from those prompts, the code that it would generate, the output, take it and paste it into a development environment like Replit. At the time, Replit had no AI features. And then we would be able to actually piece together software from that. And that was the beginning of vibe coding. to where over the following year, we've now seen all these different platforms come about. And it's become way easier to now actually build software, build MVPs, and even production level software. If you want to take it there, there's still a learning curve, but you can do it and not necessarily have 10 years of software engineering experience, for example. We've heard the famous Rick Rubin say vibe coding is like the punk rock of coding. And so if we look at it both from a business standpoint, there's an opportunity here to solve your own needs and then also provide products or services in the case of building apps for others, building software for others, but provide products, creating your own products that solve your own need, and then offering it as a for to others who have a similar pain point. So some examples that I've started doing that with include Blur app that will blur out sensitive data on your website, different websites. I'm created a lot of these kinds of videos. Now I have a solution for if I need to blur out sensitive data, API keys, credit cards, and things of that nature. I'm doing that right now with something called Still app. I have a daily meditation practice where I try to be consistent with it. And I usually go on a YouTube or somewhere in order to supply or source that music. Sometimes I have an Apple Music subscription just for the meditation. Like, shout out to Joe Dispenza. I use a lot of like Joe Dispenza meditations. So I created my own meditation app called Still app that I'm now using. It's in beta testing right now. You can the website will be out soon and you can join the beta. But I'm now will be using my own app for meditating. But I could also offer this to others who are meditators and can market it in the same kind of light as any other product. DropCard, this is the first app that I launched fully. It's in the iOS App Store right now. DropCard app on the iOS store. It's a business card app. I conceived of this idea as I was starting to go outside a lot more again. There are business card apps that I've used in the past that I'll pull up when I'm exchanging contact information with someone or with people. Now I can use DropCard app when I'm doing that exchange in contacts. I'm adding a feature where you can have even your LinkedIn, it'll integrate or connect with your LinkedIn so that it doesn't conflict or contrast with people who decide to connect with you over LinkedIn. It'll can take that into consideration. And so each of the ideas I just mentioned now, each of the products I just mentioned now are actually personal apps that we're building internally that we're also now moving to the phase of marketing them and distributing them for people to use for themselves as well. And so this opportunity around personal software is only going to increasingly grow, especially over the next year as these platforms continue to improve. We've got Opus 4.5 now, we've got Gemini 3, we've got platforms like Vibe Code app and Rourke and Lovable, and they're only going to get better. And right now, there's still actually a learning curve to all of this. And so you can't just like there's some very simple kinds of apps that you launch very quickly. But for the most part, it's going to take a little bit of time for you to go through the learning curve and for you to understand how to do this thing. And we're also working on a framework for vibe coding that will allow you to not just build an MVP, but to also continue to iterate on it and grow it and have users while still being able to improve on the app. And so if you're interested in getting into it on that level, you definitely should check out the Vibe Code Pioneers. We'll have that framework in here. We also have a lot of templates for both building apps and also workflows, like agentic workflows, and what we're talking about in terms of how the conversation is now shifting to the world that we're now moving into. I deeply believe that vibe coding is a whole lane and a skill set that's going to also increasingly be in demand to where you can build all sorts of products. Right now, it may be the rapid prototyping, right? But as the space matures, we're talking high level, enterprise level kind of software and workflows that you can apply to the enterprise or that you could even apply to small businesses that may become the enterprises of tomorrow. So Vibe Code Pioneers. And the next item I have on this list is the ChatGPT App Store. So we have to admit that GPTs kind of fell short I believe GPT's launched maybe a year and a half ago now, or something like that. ChatGPT App Store will be what we thought the GPTs were going to be. I said Apple, the OpenAI, which I'm kind of looking at like an Apple. They're going for that spot where they become the front door to the internet in some ways, to where now when you're launching apps, you're doing them through an open AI. They haven't yet talked about commission structure or anything yet, but as of December 17th, developers can now submit apps to ChatGPT. So I've been going through this process myself around what it looks like, and it is actually more straightforward than one would think. They have their design guidelines and their kind of product guidelines, and we're going to be bringing this back to Vibe Code Pioneers, where not that many people are on this opportunity yet. And so if you are one of the first people or an early kind of group of people who are getting their apps out there onto the ChatGPT App Store, whether it's new kinds of ideas or apps, whether it's existing apps that now are integrating or have an AI aspect of the integration, you can really set yourself apart. And the last point I have here is personal branding. When you think about platforms like VO3, like we got right here, right, or Sora 2, we've now reached the point in generative AI where you can't tell real from fake. If you understand how to use these tools well, you can create to where you can spoof or just have a high level of design that feels organic and that looks good and that really expresses your creativity, but people can't tell that it's AI generated because it's that good. And we've hit when Nano Banana 2 launched, Nano Banana Pro launched, and then we had VO 3.1 launch, and then now AI launched ChatGPT 1.5. We have Sora 2, and then you have these tools that also like kind of like integrate a lot of the platforms together. Higgsfield is one where you can find so much on Higgsfield. You've got Runway ML, which I haven't even checked out in a while, but I know their outputs are crazy. Krea, Kling, generative AI has taken off, and we've reached a point of no return. A dead internet theory, where the idea of communication that's happening online and the video and the audio and the text that you're seeing, basically like AI talking to each other, like no one's really talking to each other. And so that is one of the reasons why personal branding is as important as it could ever be. Being able to show up and be yourself online in a world where AI is able to have these show these kind of projections of what is the most quote unquote perfect. The real way to kind of set yourself apart is to combine your thoughts, your actions, your work with AI to augment yourself, but also just in general, the best way to build trust right now is going to be showing yourself and showing the real you in a world where everything is AI. That starts to become a rarity. So you'll see me I'm going to be doing a lot more live streams. I'm telling you, I'm going to be doing a lot more live streams. You can find me on TikTok. I'm going to be doing webinars, going to be doing a bunch of different things to just put myself out there more from a personal branding standpoint, and to just show, kind of give a glimpse into where I'm at and what I'm working on. Because when we get to the point where everything is AI at scale, then it's kind of a wrap. And so being able to build that trust, and especially if you're able to build that trust online, that is crucial. So those are my 5 touch points, my 5 sort of areas where I'm really focused on going to 2026. And of course, I'm bringing all that back to my community. And I look forward to growing together with whoever has been tapping into this channel. If you've supported this channel, shout out to you. I appreciate your support, and I hope I've been able to provide some value and some helpful information. Have a blessed entrance into the new year. It's time to take it higher, and I'll see you back in 2026. Peace.